With me, Amir Arafat. Today, an open, secret coalition of money and power. A shadow world government called the Bilderberg Group.
They control the money.
When you control the purse strings, you control the world.
They control the food.
They're poisoning our people.
They even decide who will live and who will die.
Many have identified them as the kingmakers, the puppet masters that pull the strings behind the scenes. Meet the Bilderberg Group. This elite group meet annually around the globe. There is a core group of members who have attended every year for decades, such as David Rockefeller, Henry Kissinger, and Queen Beatrix of the Netherlands. These members invite others who are politically and socially relevant at the time. Each year, around 140 people are in attendance.
Bilderbergers comprise the world's most exclusive club. No one buys their way in. Only the group's steering committee decides whom to invite. And in all cases, participants are adherents to one world order governance run by top power elites. 1/3 of the attendees are political figures. The others are from industry, finance, academia, labor, and communications.
They're comprised of powerful politicians, powerful business people, people from academia, people from the media, religious people, people from other walks of life, and they're sworn to secrecy.
Membership consists of annual attendees, around 80 to 110 of the world's most powerful, and others only invited occasionally because of their knowledge or involvement in relevant topics. According to steering committee rules, the invited guests must come alone. No wives, husbands, or friends. Personal assistants, meaning security, bodyguards, CIA, or other Secret Service protectors cannot attend the conference and must eat in a separate hall. The guests are explicitly forbidden from giving interviews to journalists or divulge anything that goes on in the meetings. Host governments provide overall security to keep away outsiders.
Famous guests at the group's meetings have included Giovanni Agnelli, then president of Italy's Fiat auto giant, and Henry Kissinger. Bill Clinton, Tony Blair.
Serious question. You denied being a member of the Bilderberg Group. The Guardian reported that you came there in 1993. What do you say to those people who have questions about the Bilderberg Group?
About the Bilderberg Group? Yeah, it's a really useful group, actually. I remember going there back to that in 1993, and it's a great way, too, from people from different parts of the world to get together. So it's been good.
Do you think it's a conflict of interest? I mean, the heads of media corporations, banking, meeting with
yeah.
without the media even mentioning it?
I don't know. It may have changed a bit since my day.
And Angela Merkel attended before assuming public office, as did Kofi Annan, the former Secretary General of the UN. Annan was married to Raoul Wallenberg's niece. Wallenberg, as we stated before, is the patriarch of the powerful Swedish family that has supported the group from its very beginning. Other participants have included Henry Ford II, George Pompidou, Helmut Schmidt, and Baron Edmund de Rothschild, together with the father of the American atomic bomb, J. Robert Oppenheimer. More names follow. Donald Rumsfeld, Alan Greenspan, George Soros, David Rockefeller, Queen Beatrice of the Netherlands, and US Senator and former presidential candidate, John Kerry. The list, while incomplete, represents the greatest amount of economic and political power ever concentrated in one single organization.
We see President Obama, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush. These are the players. Who is pulling the strings?
Well, one of the things the Bilderbergers do is they basically select, they interview candidates to be president in the United States. So, you know, Bill Clinton went over and got the Bilderberg blessing, and the Bushes went over and got the Bilderberg blessing.
When they sit down candidly to speak in private, they decide what agendas they want, who's going to win. Just before, in 2008, just before Barack Obama became president in the United States, he and Hillary Clinton went to the Bilderberg meeting in Chantilly, Virginia, stayed a couple of days and left. And so we see that they control who gets to have the nomination for whichever fake party we have here in the United States, you know, Libertarian or Democratic or Republican.
Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton, for example, who attended in 1991, There, David Rockefeller told him why the North American Free Trade Agreement was a Bilderberg priority and that the group needed him to support it. The next year, Clinton was elected president, and on January the 1st of 1994, NAFTA took effect. Numerous other examples are similar, including who gets chosen for powerful government, military, and other key positions.
I happened to be in Europe then on my way to Russia. I was invited to go to Bilderberg by Vernon Jordan, a friend of mine and a genuine hero of the civil rights movement. And to the best of my knowledge, NAFTA was not discussed by anybody in my presence.
Documents released by the group in 2001 reveal that in September of 1955, the group met in Germany and covertly outlined the idea of a European Union. Section E, European Unity, discusses the general support for European integration and unification, and the idea to unify Germany once again with the rest of Europe under a common marketplace.
Years after participating in a Bilderberg meeting, George McGee, former United States ambassador to Germany, said that the Treaty of Rome that created the European Common Market was born in the Bilderberg meetings. Jack Schenkman, chairman of Amalgamated Bank and also a Bilderberg member, said in 1996, the idea of a common European currency was discussed a great many years before it came about. We also discussed the possibility of the United States re-establishing diplomatic relations with China before President Nixon actually did it.
But if these people are so very important and influential, and their meetings all the more important, simply discussing the whole world and all the decisions and policies to be made, where are the mainstream media? The media that cover every single detail, every corner of Earth. Some police car chase out there in Manhattan to the American Idol.
I'd spent 20 happy years with the mainstream media. I was asked, what do you think about Bilderberg? I said, I'd never heard of them. I was shocked and outraged that I could be in the news business all my life and not be aware of a group called Bilderberg. But at that point, made it my business to check those turkeys out quite thoroughly.
Get off the property, please.
Jim has some questions for you.
I need you to move off the property.
Jim Tucker says there's a reason most people haven't heard of the Bilderbergs. The ones who control the mainstream media are part of the group or answer to it.
If 120 NFL football players or if 120 film stars went behind locked and guarded doors for a 3-day closed meeting, you'd bust your butts trying to find out what transpired. But now you have no curiosity. You don't dare. Your publisher will not let you have any curiosity.
If you're looking to the mainstream media to give you information, you're getting what these secret societies like the Bilderberg and the Trilateral and the Council on Foreign Relations want you to know, so that you support them and you don't fight against it. You know, you just go along with the flow.
The major stations on approximately 6 to 9 different major corporations around the world leads to the success of the secrecy and corruption that we see in the world. And so the Bilderberg group was founded on that premise in 1954 to use a combination of secrecy plus corruption plus gaining control of governmental policies around the world so they could enhance their wealth.
How many people in Britain have heard of the Bilderberg Group? In America, anywhere around the world? The Bilderberg Group, what's that? Well, and I understand that. No one ever talks about it, really. But I've talked to journalists about the Bilderberg Group. Bilderberg Group, what's that? I haven't got a bloody clue. So, isn't it funny that the Bilderberg Group seems to be rather influential? Tony Blair, Bilderberg Group. Gordon Brown, Bilderberg Group, leading players in the present British government. Now, of course, the opposition chancellor to Gordon Brown was Kenneth Clark. Bilderberg Group. Let's look at the head of the World Bank, James Wolfensohn, Bilderberg Group. Let's look at the first two heads of the World Trade Organization, Peter D. Sutherland of Ireland and Renato Ruggiero of Italy, Bilderberg Group. Wherever you look, this thing comes up and no one's ever friggin' heard of it.
So when they're sitting there in their secret meetings, and you have a lot of heads from print and television, mainstream media, if you watch closely, like I said, between about 5 or 6 months after the Bilderberg meetings, you'll start to see their agendas coming out, which way they want to sway the audience and gain support. because media is very influential. A lot of people have been programmed to think that what they're told from this idiot box is what's actually going on.
Sometimes it leaks out. For example, in June 2002, the American Free Press reported from a leak from a person who had attended the meeting then that the group had decided to postpone the Iraq War until March 2003. Well, guess what? We had a war in March 2003. This is the kind of power they have, and it's not reported by the major media they control.
For over 14 years, Daniel Estulin has investigated and researched the Bilderberg Group's far-reaching influence in business and finance, global politics, war and peace, and control of the world's resources and its money.
The center of this conspiracy is this group of people called the Bilderbergers, more powerful than any nation on earth, destined to control the necessities of the planet.
In his book, The True Story of the Bilderberg Group, he states that in 1954, the most powerful men in the world met for the first time in Oosterbeek, Netherlands, debated the future of the world, and decided to meet annually in secret. They called themselves the Bilderberg Group.
The Bilderberg Group, or Bilderberg Club, it's the name of the hotel in the Netherlands on the outskirts of Amsterdam, and that's where they met for the first time in 1954.
Ever since the Bilderberg Group first met, the exact purpose of the talks has never been fully explained. The delegates meet in secret for 3 days of discussions, but nothing they talk about is ever revealed afterwards.
The front face for this group was Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands. He's from Germany with Nazi connections, but married into the Dutch royal family. They actually had to cancel one of their meetings one year because he was in so many legal problems about the exposure of the bribes he was taking from Lockheed in making sure that Lockheed sold some of their planes to the Dutch. But that he also served on hundreds of boards of major corporations. I mean, who needs a monarch sitting on the board of directors of major world corporations? I mean, what could he possibly bring to the table?
The Nazi background of Prince Bernhard did not stop the Bilderberg Group from being supported by Social Democrats, or by the Rothschild Bank, or the Rockefellers, both of Jewish origin. Other early sponsors included the Wallenbergs, owners of Electrolux and Ericsson in Sweden. All of them still actively participate in the annual general meetings of the group, either directly or through their representatives.
Queen Beatrix's father was one of the founders of the Bilderberg, and she has since taken on some of the roles of making sure that everything runs smoothly, Queen Beatrix of the Netherlands. And it started off where heads of state and heads of corporations and people who were influential in politics and in circles, you know, for getting laws passed and things done, would sit down in secret and discuss how they were going to effectively get their agenda passed using propaganda and using politicians and using corporations in order to change the world toward a new world order, a one world government, one world currency.
People who attend Bilderberg are the most powerful leaders of every European and North American nation. Would then sit representatives of royalty, representatives of European Parliament, European commissioners, President of the European Central Bank, the World Bank, International Monetary Fund, Federal Reserve, top 50 CEOs of the world's most powerful corporations. And they're joined by the leading lights of the world mainstream media, Washington Post, New York Times, Time Magazine, Newsweek, Economist, Wall Street Journal, which is one of the reasons, again, most people have never heard of the Bilderbergers.
For over half a century, no agenda or discussion topics have become public, nor is any press coverage allowed. The few invited are sworn to secrecy. Meeting procedures by Chatham House rules, letting attendees freely express their views in a relaxed atmosphere, knowing nothing said will be quoted or revealed to the public. Meetings are always frank, but do not always conclude with consensus.
Usually every 3 years they meet in the United States, and the rest of the time they meet in Europe. The hotels that they book, they're 5-star luxury hotels. The way it works is 120 people, they break into 6 groups of 20, and they look at each issue in the morning sessions from different perspectives. And then in the afternoon, each perspective reached by a group is discussed on a general level. And then a consensus is reached.
According to Esalen, whatever its early mission, the group is now a shadow world government threatening to take away our right to direct our own destinies by creating a disturbing reality, very much harming the public's welfare. In short, Bilderbergers want to supplant individual nation-state sovereignty with an all-powerful global government, corporate-controlled and checkmated by militarized enforcement. Imagine a private club where presidents, prime ministers, international bankers, and generals rub shoulders, where gracious royal chaperones ensure everyone gets along, and where the people running the wars, markets in Europe and America say what they never dare say in public.
The inner circle of the Bilderbergs has been around for centuries.
I'm telling you, about 50–60% of the participants have absolutely no idea that there is a very organized structure that goes back centuries. I found that what's today called Bilderberg 800 years ago already existed. It was called the Venetian Black Nobility right after the Fourth Crusade.
Early in its history, Bilderbergers decided to create an aristocracy of purpose between Europe and the United States to reach consensus to rule the world on matters of policy, economics, and overall strategy.
On the outskirts of the national capital today, black limousines with darkened windows converged on a hotel where private security guards imposed ironclad control. The limos carried royalty, political power brokers, and industrial titans to a secret meeting that will last all weekend. It's known as the Bilderberg Group.
What exactly is it the Bilderbergers want? What is it their sister trilateralists want and other secret societies? All they want is free trade, NAFTA, CAFTA, World Trade Organization, International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, in essence, a world government.
Could their objective be world domination?
They want supreme, unchallenged global dominance. I wrote about them a few years ago. I've got a checklist. I didn't want a chance to memory. Let me tell you in a checklist, ticking off some points, exactly what the Bilderberg agenda is. I'll just start off by saying it is extremely destructive and ugly. And their idea of a perfect world is one international entity under one set of universal values. What are they? The values that benefit them, that harm everybody else.
They like to say that if you look at ancient Greek history, you'll notice that the city-states were powerful back in those days, but the city-states weren't big enough to last and survive. Today, they're saying that we don't need nations anymore. We need to expand so that the nations have very small power and very small roles in the world, and that the world needs to be run by a small elite group of wealthy business interests, bankers, and so-called intellectuals.
Centralized control of world populations by mind control. They want to manipulate the public mind to go along with what they want to do, so they are unchallenged.
They believe in centralized control of people, mind control. The major media corporations of the world are unfortunately watched by the vast majority of the population of the world who don't have enough intelligence to realize they're being lied to.
They want a new world order with no middle class, composed of rulers and serfs. Nobody in the middle. They're the boss. Everybody is a serf. The serfs obey. Anybody who disobeys gets targeted for elimination.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
It used to be more secretive. You know, the New World Order was talked about 30 or 40 years ago, and nobody would say it out and open. Now they talk about the New World Order, or they just think the world would be better off if we had one world government.
There's a need for a new world order.
But there's a very, very clear-cut and easily identifiable system in place that puts all of these elements, from media control to government control to energy control, together into one apparatus working together effectively towards its final goal, which is, global control.
A new world is emerging.
It is a new world order.
It's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order.
There is a chance for the President of the United States to use this disaster to carry out what his father, a phrase his father used, and that is a new world order.
Along with military dominance, controlling the world's money is crucial, for with it comes absolute control, as a powerful 19th century Rothschild family understood. As the patriarch Amschel Rothschild once said, "Give me control of a nation's money, and I care not who makes its laws."
They like a zero-growth society. That one's a little bit obscure. It's hard to know what they mean by that. But they say, without prosperity or progress, only greater wealth and power for them at the expense of everybody else. I think a good way of explaining it is to explain what's going on now. There's no growth going on in most Western countries. Growth is actually declining in major ones: Britain, Germany, France, Italy, Spain, Greece, Portugal, Ireland. But the bankers are having a party. How can the bankers make money when the economies are declining? Because the central banks that they either own or control print all the money that they ask for. And what do they do with this money? They use it to make more of it. They speculate with it. They steal. They stuff their pockets. They pay themselves big salaries and bonuses. So they benefit just fine, thank you very much. Ordinary people are harmed. Poverty is out of control. Unemployment is out of control. Homelessness, hunger, deprivation at record levels in America. And yet the bankers are supremely rich. Their stocks doing very, very well. Their profits, their bonuses, extremely high in economies that are very weak. This is a perfect world for the Bilderbergers.
They believe in perpetual imbalance. They want to have artificially created crises around the world that will further increase their wealth.
They also believe in manufactured crises and permanent wars, because wars are profitable, and the more that are fought, the wealthier they get. They want absolute control of education, to program the public mind, to train those chosen for various roles, and to train others to be compliant.
They want centralized control of education. They want us all to be learning their propaganda.
One size fits all. The size they determine, the size they want, the size that benefits them at the expense of everybody else.
They want centralized control of foreign and domestic policies. They want the United Nations to become the world government. They want United Nations taxes.
They want the UN to act as a de facto world government, imposing a UN tax on everybody in the world.
They want expanded trading blocs such as NAFTA and the European Union to reduce the importance of individual countries and of individuals to have control over their destinies.
They want global trade policies, rules that they make that benefit them, and again, that harm everybody else. A global WTO, World Trade Organization. Again, they make the rules, nobody else does.
They want to expand NATO and other regional military forces, again, to weaken the power of individual countries.
They want NATO to be a global world enforcer. Challenge them, and NATO will ravage your country, murder your children, enslave you, destroy your country, to turn it to rubble. That's the role they want NATO to play. That's the perfect Bilderberg world. They make the rules. Everything goes the way they want. Anybody dissented, kill them. That's the Bilderberg world.
Well, thank you for watching. Always follow the money trail with me, Amir Arfa.